evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the 2023 Football Under 20 National Championship. This game is game number 80 between Victoria and ACT Women's. And the teams, starting with Victoria, number 4, Katie Farrow. Number 5, Leah Cummings. Number 6, Liz Sharp. Number 7, Anna Wickstrom. Number 8, Sophie Burrows. Number 10, Number 11, Mel Myers. Number 12, Dakota Gordon. Number 13, Number 14, Erin Longron. Head coach, Joe Wood. Assistant coach, Rebecca McIntyre. Assistant coach, Kelly Walker. And team manager, Miriam Barton. Now we go to the ACT. Starting with number 2, Malik Amalakmu. Number 3, Alana McDickich. Number 4, Sophie McRock. Number 6, Laura Shaw. Number 7, Georgia Knight. Number 8, Mia Slater. Number 9, Taylor Wood. Number 11, Lady Cunningham. Number 12, Alison Francis. Number 13, Jen Brisky. Head coach, Sarah Brown. Assistant coach, Sean Barnett. Team manager, Jasmine Short. And our referees this evening, Cash Bakley, Lachlan Hogarth, and Marco Nikolic.
Welcome to the arena in Geelong for the Generation Next Under 20 Foot Locker National Championships for 2023. I'm Wes Cusworth, joined by Rob Calder in commentary for this contest between Victoria and the ACT. Good evening, Rob.
Good evening, Wes. How are you?
Very well, thank you.
Last game for the night.
Yes, last game for the night. Big day, steamy day here in Geelong.
Has been cooking in here.
And the Annex is the part of the arena venue that we will be calling this game from, and this is going to be a fairly steamy sort of environment for players on both sides, and no doubt the Victorian team will be fully tested. They're a little bit depleted through injury.
Yeah, they are missing a couple of athletes tonight in Sophie Burrows and Dakota Crichton. No idea what their injuries are or how long they'll be out for or anything like that, but we'll sort of see what happens when they come back. So always tough when you deal with injuries in these sort of situations, but you're always a chance when you get into tournaments as well. It is a tough environment. It's been a long week. It's been a fairly physical week, and it's been pretty warm down here too, so injuries do happen.
Of course, special weeks of this kind don't happen without generous sponsorship, and Foot Locker right behind the next generation of Australian basketballers, both men and women, and as we've spoken about previously in earlier games, the fact is we'll be seeing some of these people emerge as WNBL, NBL and potentially international players in years to come. And of course, Basketball Australia partners include Sport Oz, Spalding and Game Day, who are also providing enormous support. Just 90 seconds away from this game getting underway, and the ACT appear to have a full complement, and as you make mention, Victoria just slightly depleted with Crichton and also Burrows missing. And Victoria not able to bring players into the squad?
No, once the tournament starts, they're locked away. So unfortunately, a couple of injuries does leave them a little bit short-handed. But on the positive side, ACT had to play this morning. So they had to qualify through to this game by playing the other Victoria Navy team and got a win in overtime for those ladies. So if there's a positive, they might be a couple of players down, but in theory, they should have a couple of extra petrol tickets up their sleeve.
Well, another positive for the Victorian lineup is that we have already identified the fact that they have a sizable height advantage over their ACT rivals.
Yeah, definitely. This has been a fairly tall age group across the board for Victoria over the years, and even though there's a few athletes missing with WNBL commitments and injuries and things like that, it's still a fairly formidable looking group out there.
Earlier we saw New South Wales too good for South Australia red, and once again the height advantage came to play there, didn't it really? Yeah,
it did. It's a really tough out this time of the week to guard low post players in particular. So New South Wales did a great job of finding Isla Juffermans down there. Very difficult matchup for anyone in this competition, but in particular in this game, this is going to be a really interesting one across the board.
So we hope wherever you're watching Community TV that you enjoy the coverage, as it is going to be the ACT's Mia Slater up against Diani Ananiev. And Ananiev gets the tip, but it looks like the ACT might be able to get hands on first on the ball, but eventually it's Paige Burrows who comes up with it. And she'll look to construct something nice and early. Tina Knight in the action early, drives to the basket, can't complete. And the ACT, courtesy of Matajevic, cleaning up the scraps and bringing it up the floor. It'll be Alison Francis.
Can sometimes be a little bit of a disadvantage having not played earlier today too. Like you try and find your legs a little bit. There's a little bit of stiffness because you haven't played as much as the other team. So it might be a little bit of a testing out period early on.
Not Watt fired, but couldn't connect. And as a consequence, it'll be the opposing number 4 in Burrows once again to bring it up the floor. Here's Ananiev. Finds her fellow Wyndham player in Knight. And now Millie Sharp. Ananiev fires for 3. Bobbles around, almost drops. Matajevic. And now, once again, it's Francis. Cunningham. Trying to shake that Millie Sharp defence. Trying to burst through was McWatt.
Great deed by Holly Griffiths there to step up and take the charge there. She's looking a little bit ginger as she's starting to get up, a little bit of knee stiffness there, but great help defence to step across, take the contact through the chest there and earn the turnover for Victoria.
Bit of courage involved, and she's a little bit proppy.
Yeah, it's never easy when you take that sort of contact. I used to shy away from it personally, which I found was a little bit better for my self-preservation, but not great for my court time.
Here's Burrows. Ananiev combining with Knight once again. Sharp. Knight drives. Oh, nice work. Banks in 2. Gets the scoring underway for Victoria.
Yeah, don't usually need to ask Tennille Knight twice to drive into gaps like that. That's a real easy one for her, and it's a great start to her campaign tonight.
Good mobility for a big player.
Big time. And as we're seeing Victoria out on the break here, managing to turn ACT over and get out with Diani and Ananiev on the break.
And Ananiev has 2, Knight 2, so the Wyndham girls leading the way.
It's almost as if you were sitting here in a Wyndham shirt, Wes.
ACT looking to respond. Matajevic. Well, Holly Griffiths thought that was clean.
Rob Coulter thought that was clean from the other side of the court, but unfortunately it doesn't matter what I think. I don't have a whistle and I don't have to make decisions from over here. So maybe a little bit unlucky in that one, but that's okay. So ACT to the line here.
Mia Slater steps up. I think that touches on a good point too. We make reference to the officials, and having umpired Aussie rules football myself, I know full well that officials of all kind, they strive to be involved with championships of this kind, don't they? It means a great deal to them too.
Yeah, it does, and especially being able to say you've reffed a quarter-final game, and I'm sure the referees would hope to be going on to the semi-finals and the grand finals when it gets to that point as well. Like it's a really vital part of the game, and you know, the better they are, the better the standard of the game is.
So kudos to the officials. And I know the score bench will just be relishing their opportunity to be involved in contest of this nature too. There's Dianiev. Sharp pushes it out. Griffiths. Nice work by Griffiths. Such composure.
Great take by Holly Griffiths on that one. Great touch. And that's a player that's been projected long term to be involved in the Victorian pathway. Was maybe a little bit raw in under 16s and didn't quite get the opportunity, similar with 18s, but come under 20, she's a development player with the Southside Flyers, and she's really producing for this Victorian team.
Victoria on the charge, Sharp. Bit of contact under the glass. No basket. So the ACT ringing the changes as Georgia Knight steps in. So to Monique Imi-Laifonwu. Millie Sharp.
Great product of the Vic Country program. Plays with basketball at Ballarat, plays in their NBL1 team over the last season, and I'm assuming we'll step into that role again this year.
4 scorers already for Victoria. Good sign. Spreading the load.
Defensively, just look like they're going to jump up the floor here in a 1-2-1-1 press. See if they can disrupt with Diani and Aniev in the front line of that. Trying to get that steal early and try and turn them over, and successful in that situation.
So Brisky has entered the fray for the ACT. And a big hello to all of our friends up there in Canberra watching on. Hope you're enjoying the coverage if you weren't fortunate enough to make the trip down. Paige Burrows becomes the 5th Victorian to get on the board. Looping pass. Knight. Firing from distance and connecting. That's Monique Imi-Laifonwu. Plenty of composure there.
And we'll give ACT a lot of confidence too. It's great to see the ball go through the net early in those games. To be able to find that, as we see Holly Griffiths just missed that one, but Tennille Knight being in the right place at the right time.
Holly will claim that as a pass.
Absolutely.
Tennille was sitting waiting for it, and probably never saw a shot she didn't like the look of. Very talented player. ACT put the ball to the floor. Georgia Knight, and then stripped of position. She's going to get another opportunity, Georgia Knight. But she might have even had an opportunity herself to go, but chose not to. Firing from a long way from home was Burrows.
It's great work by Holly Griffiths there to create a rebounding contest in that space. She's always in rebounding contests. She's very physical with how she plays in the post in particular. We're seeing Victoria start to ring through some changes now.
Lily Carmody, Hannah Wickstrom, and Erin Condren coming into the action. Nice save by Carmody. Condren. That's nice work. Wickstrom.
Yeah, that's the hardest part, I think, is keeping this Victorian team off the boards. It's very difficult to get done with the massive size advantage here.
And we've got a relatively early timeout, although that might even be the heat timeout, is it? It's come with 4.5 minutes into the contest.
Not entirely sure. If it's not, ACT probably needed that timeout at this stage.
Yeah, just
anyway.
have a bit of a chat. 14-4 trailing, and interesting to see that we've got some 6 Victorians on the board.
Yeah, they've done a pretty good job of sharing the load in this, and they haven't had to work too hard for their points to this point. They've got out in transition. They've got a couple of steals, a couple of turnovers. They they've just done the basic things really well to this point, and that'll be their focus. They'll have an eye on playing in a semi tomorrow. They'll try and tidy up a few things, I would have thought, over the course of today and tonight's game, and try and just get some, sort of nail down their system a little bit more, I feel, before the game tomorrow, if they can get through that, which at this stage you'd probably suggest they're going to. But I mean, for the ACT group, they're going to have to grind this one out. They're going to have to try and make it as junky and as clunky as possible, and make it as difficult for Victoria to just get the easy points. If they can look after the ball and not turn that over, that'll go a really long way to applying scoreboard pressure to Victoria.
Speaking with one of the New South Wales parents who was indicating to me that we have a situation in Victoria that is enviable for all comers into our state in terms of our fantastic facilities and the like. What's your knowledge of the basketball facilities in the ACT, and what sort of level of profile does the sport enjoy?
Well, there's obviously the Centre of Excellence up there with the Australian Institute of Sport. The two main stadiums outside of that are Tuggeranong and Queanbeyan, or Belconnen, sorry, my mistake. Nice facilities. They played the Canberra Gunners out of there in the NBL 1 East competition. Basketball is still a widely played sport in ACT. They probably don't have the same level of facilities, but they probably don't have the same level of athletes in terms of numbers more than anything else playing the game. It's when we come to these tournaments, in particular in under-20s, the two Victorian teams come together in country and metro, and they combined, and it's a very deep competition, similar to the New South Wales and South Australia, WA and Queensland, but ACT have no one to come together with. So in their end, they don't just have the same level of depth that Victoria have, as an example.
Well, as we well know, within the next decade, Melbourne is, it's suggested, will have the highest population of any capital city in Australia, and of course Victoria has somewhere in the vicinity of 6 or 7 million people, so we've got a few to choose from, haven't we? Yeah,
most definitely. And even now, the developments at the State Basketball Centre out in Wantirna South, that's going to be a massive facility once that's done. So it's only going to continue growing.
Great work by Cunningham. 14-6. Nicely picked off by the ACT. Here's Wood.
It's just a little sloppy there from Victoria. Just not really doing the work off the ball to get open, and not finding the right angle to make that entry pass.
That was good work by Michaela Wood. Not only the defensive work, but to finish. Here's Ananiev. Pops for two and can't complete. Condren rips down the offensive board. Stripped of possession. So the ACT just working their way back into the contest here.
Yeah, they've done a really good job the last couple of possessions. They're jumping out in the passing lanes and trying to make it as disruptive as they possibly can for Victoria to reverse the ball. They forced them in to, a few sort of clunky shots that you'd probably expect them to make, but they've done a really good job of cleaning up on the boards.
Attacking the glass there was Cunningham. She was stopped short. On the charges, Carmody dishes out and firing, and connecting for three is Paige Burrows. Burrows up to 5 points. Tennille Knight has 4. 17 plays 8. 3:34 remaining in the first term.
Just Victoria up the floor again, and just providing a little bit of pressure. Not necessarily going to run and trap or anything like that, but just trying to take a little bit of time off the clock for ACT to make it a little bit more difficult for them to start their offense as Wickstrom comes up with a steal.
Great work by Wickstrom. Well done, Michaela Wood. Been some good defensive efforts by her in the last couple of minutes. And that's going to be off Victoria, and we are going to see another timeout here at the arena in Geelong. 17-8. Victoria with the advantage.
Yeah, and a little bit of load management here, I think, from the Victorian group at this stage. They're mindful they're 2 players down, and that hurts on your rotations. Now your starters need to play a little bit more minutes. It tends to just add to the load for everyone. So on their end, they're doing the right thing here by just trying to get some bodies through and making sure that everyone stays fresh. Because similar deal, towards the end of this game, you may need some of your starter players to come in and play big minutes again.
Of course, we know running parallel to the under-20 Foot Locker National Championships is the Ivor Burge competition. Tell me about what that would mean for players involved in that competition to be involved in a big event of this nature.
Yeah, it's huge for those guys and girls to be able to play in that. So the men's competition is in its normal traditional 5-on-5 format. The women's competition has changed to a 3x3 format this year. I think it was due to the number of teams being entered, but I'm not completely across that, to be fair. So even for them to have for those two competitions to come into this tournament with conjunction. It's just a really good feel around the place. There's always games going. You can probably hear another buzzer going as there's a court over on court 3 running at the same time as this one. So it's so it'll all culminate on the Sunday with the finals for all those competitions.
Just to tick over 3 minutes remaining in the first term. And 17-8 the scoreline. Victoria in control, but the ACT battling on. He's short. Oh, that was a little bit too easy, but not able to finish there on that occasion. Risky. Sharp. And Wickstrom. Carmody. Here's Tennille Knight. Looks inboard to Condren. Pushes out to Sharp. Clock counting down. Knight finds the eye and doesn't go. And it's not connecting on that occasion. Victoria, 2:26 remain in the first term.
Just a little bit clunky on the offensive end at the moment, and that obviously happens when you have a couple of injuries. It becomes a little bit disruptive. Players that would normally be in certain positions aren't necessarily there the whole time as well, so it does become a little bit harder. But ACT have done a good job defensively here to make it as difficult as they have. They've taken no backward steps at this point. They're still continuing to attack the rim. That's a fantastic finish on the way to the bucket as well under immense pressure.
Michaela Wood has played some good minutes. Rapid movement up the court on this occasion by Victoria. Condren fouled in the process of shooting. She'll go to the line. And
that's where I think Victoria can really exploit their size advantage. If they can get down the floor quicker, they will have more size to be able to work with in the half court there.
Condren from the line. Gets on the board. What's Erin's home club?
Erin's currently a development player actually with the Bendigo Spirit. So she's from Mount Macedon way. And she's one of them.
There.
Yeah, not too far away. But there's a number of WNBL development players in this Victorian team as an example. So Diani Ananiev, she's another development player with the Bendigo Spirit. Lily Carmody, Paige Burrows, Sophie Burrows when she's available. They're all development players with the Melbourne Boomers. We've got Holly Griffith, who's a development player with the Southside Flyers as well. So they've all done a really good job of getting involved with senior programs to try and progress their game as best they possibly can. So the day in, day out of training against senior athletes is only going to get them better.
And going to get some fantastic quality coaching.
They will. So all the coaches at those clubs have been fantastic with them by allowing them to come to this championship because obviously the WNBL is still running at this stage as well.
Lily Carmody. Rattles home the first.
A great story with Lily Carmody. Has never made a state team before, but made her first one in under 20s when she's now with the Melbourne Boomers, a development player. Was a Pauline junior. Just a really great story.
8th Victorian to get on the board, which means that all Victorians are on the board, given that they've got a list of 8.
Well, it's very rarely that one single player wins you a game. Do it by committee, as they say.
Victoria effective turnover. Tennille Knight. She's got 6 points. Georgia Knight. Risky, and then firing from distance and connecting is Alison Francis.
So they're just staying in touch there, ACT. Every time it looks like it might just start to skip out margin-wise. They're doing a great job of just finding that right bucket at the right time to be able to continue to stay in this.
Really good save by Millie Sharp. That was clever.
How she did it is beyond me. Angles don't work out like that.
Looked like a Michael Nisa catch.
Yeah.
ACT turn it over. Losing the handle. Here's Knight on the charge once again. It's a 1-on-2 situation. She waits for reinforcements. Wickstrom drains the 3.
Really classy finish there by Wickstrom. She's
just composed, wasn't it?
A real worker. She made the great decision to go little shot fake and step to the side on that rather than trying to force something over a defender.
Good defence by Victoria, just really pressuring the ACT there on that occasion. 30 seconds remain in the first term, 26-13. management of the Victorians will be critical given the fact that there's only 3 on the bench.
Yeah, it's not going to be easy. It's and even trying to tell players, look, just manage yourself a little bit. Like, you don't have to go flat out all the time. Maybe just save your legs for a little bit later in the game if you have to. These players don't know how to play that way, and none of the teams know how to play that way. Everyone that gets here has got here because they're a high-performing athlete, so they know one way to play, and that is as hard as they possibly can.
So Tennille Knight incurring a personal foul there on that occasion. Life on Wu brings it in. And it'll be Francis to bring it up the floor with 11 seconds remaining. What can the ACT conjure up in these final few moments of the first term? Pushing out tonight of the Georgia variety. She puts it up, and it's taken by her opposing number 7 in Hannah Wickstrom. It's quarter time here at the arena in Geelong in the Under-20 Generation Next National Championships. 26-13, Victoria with the ascendancy to score a spread.
Yeah, they've done a pretty decent job here, Victoria. Their defence has really led to a lot of their offence, I found. They've managed to turn ACT over a couple of times, which has let them get out on the break. But credit to ACT, they're sticking in this game. Like, they haven't been blown away here. They're still in this at this stage. They do need a couple of really good minutes to start this quarter. The last thing you want is this 13-point lead to skip out and be sort of 19, 20 points early on in this quarter. But if they can do a decent job of just sort of hanging around. They don't need to win it right now. They don't need to try and get back in front this quarter. But if they can just stick around long enough, it'll just put a little bit of doubt into the mind of the Victorians.
Well, it's just about small bites, isn't it, really?
It is. There's no 13-point play. So gradually just chip away at this thing and find a way to just be there when it matters. So the ACT group, like I said, they played this morning. They did a really good job in overtime. So they know how to win the close games when they're involved in those. So if they can just do a reasonable job here of sticking around long enough, that might apply enough pressure on Victoria to maybe start to panic a little bit, and being down a couple of athletes, that can really impact on them.
We know that all sports are about momentum. Do you think basketball's even more that way inclined, or perhaps more pronounced that way, just in terms of the momentum runs?
Yeah, it does feel it at times, and as coaches we can try and do a little bit too much at times and call more timeouts to try and break momentum, but sometimes it doesn't actually fix anything. It kind of makes things worse unless you're going to make a tactical change there. You know, momentum's really hard to stop, and we've all seen the great shooters over the years that when they get hot, they get really hot really quickly. We saw it with Sarah Blitzavs in a game for Southside Flyers, had 42 points or something like that, and I'm sure after she made her 4-3, they knew she was shooting the ball pretty well, but she's still very difficult to guard when that happens. So I think the momentum side of things is really difficult to try and stem if you're in that position to do it.
Tennille Knight leads the scorers with 6 for Victoria, and Hannah Wickstrom has 5, and Paige Burrows has 5. Michaela Wood, the leading scorer for the ACT, with 4. Second quarter action coming to you live on Community TV, the Under-20 Foot Locker National Championships. Georgia Knight drives and then dishes. Clock counting down. Oh, that's clever work on that occasion by Alison Francis.
Done really well to use every bit of the court available to her in that situation. That's a great take by ACT there, and I'm sure they'll be looking to build on that with a stop down here defensively.
Yeah, they got the turnover. Driving up the court, Laura Short. Georgia Knight, put to go. Ananiev at the defensive end. Nice follow there on that occasion by Holly Griffiths.
Yeah, great job pushing the ball there by Ananiev, but a fantastic follow-up. It's always one of those things where you should always follow your teammate when they're out on the break, because you just never know when they're going to miss.
So the ACT looking for a quick response. And they find it, thanks to Alison Francis. Looked like it might have broken down there on that occasion with a little stumble, but worked out all right.
I think it threw Victoria as well. They almost stopped playing defence because of it. They've done a pretty good job here as making this as hard as they possibly can, as Holly Griffith spins her way to the bucket there.
Well, the rescue mission on that occasion by Millie Sharp unfortunately turned it straight over to the ACT. Here are the visitors from the nation's capital now. They're in deficit by 11. Georgia Knight. 5 seconds on the clock. Puts it up for three and drains the three. Georgia Knight for her first basket of the night.
Yeah, this is a great start here for ACT. They'll be a little disappointed with themselves giving up that layup in transition, but to this point, they've started this quarter really well to bring it back into a 10-point game.
And Arniev with a quick response. He's got 4 points. Big V champ women's starting 5 for the season. Fantastic effort for her. The ACT looking for a quick response. And you wonder how far away some of those leading players in the Victorian Big V champ competition might be from particularly the Diani-aged players from making their move to the NBL 1.
Yeah, it's quite possible. I mean, Diani's one of those athletes that signed for college already. She's signed at the University of Portland, so she'll be out of here reasonably soon, I think, this year. That's a fantastic pass. I am, as a general rule, not a massive believer of bounce passes in transition, but if you're going to throw them like that, I'm all for it. That's a fantastic pass from Lily Carmody there.
And Tennille Knight up to 8 points.
Just does a great job of getting to the right spot at the right time, Tennille. She hasn't had to create too much herself so far in this game.
Now,
just the right place at the right time.
You mentioned Portland. I think she came up from Portland, Victoria, didn't she?
Tennille Knight is very much a product of Portland, Victoria. Yeah,
yes, as opposed to Portland University, where Diani might be headed.
It is. You've done well to link those two back together, to be honest, because I certainly didn't think of it.
So the ACT looking to respond. They trail by 10. They've been really competitive.
They have a little bit of a zone here from Victoria as well. Might be looking to sort of save some legs.
Trying to take some pace out of the game.
Yeah, definitely, and make it difficult, especially with that size advantage. It's going to be a lot harder for ACT to score over a defence that's fairly well packed in.
Here's Anadiev, of whom we speak. She drives to the ring and stripped of possession. Good work by Hemilafonwu, who offloads, stops and props for 2. That's Laura Short.
They've done a good job, ACT, and just sticking around in this. Like we're talking about it at quarter time there. They don't have to win the game right now. They're doing a great job in sticking around. It's just making it difficult for Victoria, and the longer it goes on like this, the more tense Victoria will come, which will start to impact on their decision-making.
Oh, that was a sharp pass by Tennille Knight. Just the ACT with a hand in. Broke things down for Victoria. ACT putting the ball through hands. Knight. Short. Not able to complete. Carmody.
This is where it becomes really difficult for Victoria here. They're obviously looking to get out and run and push the ball as much as they can, but with that becomes a physical tax. They can't always keep that up, and when you're a couple of players short, it's going to be difficult to sustain that running game where you're looking to push the ball in transition. So I think from here, they'll be looking to try and out-execute ACT if they can. Just slow the ball down a little bit and see if they can get the ball through hands to try and get a high-quality shot.
Mia Slater comes into the game for the first time. And we have got a timeout here with 5:23 remaining. It's the Heat timeout. 32 plays 24, so just 8 points separate the two sides. And the ACT have, as you've said, have been hanging around and continue to do so.
Yeah, they've been doing a really good job. There's only a couple of times where Victoria have leaked out in transition where they've just lost track of them. So if you sort of take those 8 to 10 points away, ACT are in a really good spot here. So as long as they can tidy that up, and they've been a little bit better this quarter at doing that, they're in a really good position to continue to push Victoria as best they can.
Now, we talk about some of the other different parts of Australia and the facilities available and all the opportunities and the like. And Justin Schuler, I want to talk about his role now with the Brisbane Bullets. What a great opportunity for a coach. And, I mean, those same opportunities exist for the coaches as they do for players, don't they? So great to see the pathway and the what he's been able to undertake.
Yeah, it absolutely does. So I used to work at Basketball Victoria with Justin, so knowing quite well that that's a guy that's done a lot of work over the years. He started out at the junior level and getting involved there and trying to progress as many athletes as he could through that pathway. And he's been involved with Australian junior teams, with NBL 1 teams and Seaball teams back in the day as well. And he's been at Melbourne United now for I think about 6 years. So he's certainly put in the work, and he deserves every opportunity he gets in that space. That's someone that's done the work the right way and is going to get a position now where he gets to sort of forge his own identity a little bit. He's been an assistant coach for a long time, obviously, in the NBL. It's great to see him get an opportunity at the NBL level.
Well, we saw Jamie O'Loughlin, of course, involved here at the Super Cats, but he started as a coach of juniors at Christian College here in Geelong, and now look where he's gone. So
absolutely. So he's over in Perth at the moment, plying his trade with a club out there. I think it's Bandura from memory out that way. So
it's a nice part of the world.
It's fantastic to see coaches progress through here. Jamie was a very successful big country coach over the years as well.
That was Lily Carmody making a free throw, not able to make the second. The margin sits at 9 points midway through this second term. Burrows, Ananiev from distance, drains the three. Diani's got 7 points.
That just provides that little bit of a buffer now for Victoria. It's one of those things where you can't beat the confidence of just seeing the ball go in. So for Diani, she's been maybe a little bit quieter than we would expect her to be to start off with, but fantastic to see her get on the board there too.
I hope the slight elevation in my voice when the Wyndham girls score isn't too noticeable that people are thinking that we're playing favourites here. But it's good to see a couple of people that, well, I'm sure that you're very familiar with all of the Victorian players, but we just appreciate good basketball. Absolutely. And that is a really nice move by Lily Carmody.
Yeah, really impressive there, and certainly more familiar with the Victorian athletes than the ACT ones. But the credit to the ACT group, I think they've done a fantastic job here. Like I said, they played this morning in an overtime game. The last thing you want when you have to play 2 games a day is an overtime game somewhere. That's going to drain you out. So they've done a great job to this point to stay involved in this game, given the size advantage for a start, but also the physical toll that it's taken having to play a second game now.
Well, and particularly as you've provided a bit of context to what's available in terms of population base and also avenues, pathways within any sort of state, or obviously we're talking about the territory when we talk about the ACT.
No, they're doing a great job here, and credit to Coach Sarah Graham. She's done a great job. She's still coaching them really hard. It would be easy to walk into this and say, look, we've finished bottom of our pool to a point where we have to cross over against top in another pool. That's a pretty daunting experience for anyone to have to go through. So she's got them up for this contest, which is great to see.
I sense that Holly Griffiths thought she was being held there on that occasion. She gets an opportunity now and she banks in 2, and Holly Griffiths has got 4 points.
You really want to talk about and give credit to Holly Griffiths for the amount of work she's put into her game. Like I said earlier, this is an athlete that wasn't really around the mark in 16s, but a lot of time and effort went into her to continue to progress her development. And credit to her, she's hit under 20s and she's really valuable to this Victorian group.
And what pathway can we applaud for developing Holly?
Well, the National Performance Program that Victoria run through here, she's been involved with that all the way through. Jenny Screens put a lot of work into her over the course, and Ash Arnott and Darren Best have been involved with her development as well. And of course, her home club at Bulleen continue to be around and help her out in that space as well. So her time with the Southside Flyers, I'm sure, has been an experience. You get to train against Lauren Jackson, so that's always going to help you improve as well.
It's probably going to bring out your best, isn't it?
Yeah, I would hope so. From her perspective, I think this is a great reward for the amount of work she's put into her game.
Swiped away by Ananiev, who was reaching high across the top of the pack. Georgia Knight, just 1 second on the clock. They're not going to get it away in time. The Vicks can respond. It's a 2-on-1. And the 2 win out. Lily Carmody, she's got 7 points.
Just starting to get it away from ACT a little bit here, and it really starts on their offensive end because they haven't got great looks the last couple of possessions. That's led Victoria to be able to get out on the break and run, and that's where Victoria are at their most dangerous. When they're able to push the ball in transition, it's very difficult to stop them from scoring, as Holly Griffiths comes up with the block there and starts to break herself.
Lovely spin move by Lily Carmody.
Did a fantastic job there of finding her her ability to jump on the ring, especially in transition, to be able to stop on a dime and make that spin move is fantastic.
Any coach would be pretty pleased to see that.
In particular, if you're the team that's now up by 20 points, that always helps. As I said, a timeout called here by ACT. They'll just be trying to break momentum. We spoke about it a little bit earlier, about how hard this is. This timeout will be largely because Victoria have probably gone 5 or 6 possessions in a row with a really high-quality look down their end, but it hasn't necessarily come back the same way down the ACT end. So they've been doing a great job of sticking this game, but it only really takes 2 or 3 minutes, and it can get away from you really quickly.
And quite potentially the fact that, as you've already made mention, the game earlier today went into overtime, really probably starting to take a toll on the ACT legs right at the moment. Yeah, absolutely. And the adrenaline can get you up for a lot of games. That can really can get you going early in the game, but eventually fatigue can just take over. And, it's been a big 3 or 4 days for these athletes now. They're in a position where they are just genuinely tired. So trying to stop the fast breaks, and because of the fatigue, shots come up a little bit short, which does tend to start a fast break for another team as well. So that can just be very difficult for them to stay in games in that way. I'm always intrigued too, when you take away elite teams like this, do we find that people generally really look after themselves in terms of eating the right food and getting the right sort of rehabilitation with the team physio and early nights and just being responsible around that sort of thing? Yeah,
you find out pretty quickly which kids are diligent and which kids aren't. Like the ones that this is just a normal week for them, like they're the ones that take care of their body in their own time. The ones that are jumping in an ice bath and almost can't take it, it's like, you probably don't do enough of this in your own time to look after your body. So it can be a little bit of an eye-opening experience. You'd hope by the time they've hit under 20s, they've been through this a couple of times now where they know what they're doing.
On the burst, Lily Carmody just slows up the action. Gesticulates to Hannah Wickstrom, and then with 9 seconds on the clock decides to drive herself. Condren was the intended recipient, but knocked away, and that's actually off Victoria. So with 2:17 remaining and 20 points separating the two sides, the ACT, through Mia Slater, will get an opportunity to respond. Now Francis. Pushing out to the opposite corner. Here's Slater. Looping pass. Short. And that'll be an ACT ball. Inside the final 2 minutes of our first half. Francis on the left. Found the iron, wouldn't go. Slater. Offensive rebound, gets its reward. 18 points separate the two sides. Carmody dishes to Neil Knight. Overcooks the shot. Nice work by Millie Sharp. Condren out to Wickstrom, who drives. It's going to be a Victoria ball.
Just a little bit longer on offense on that one. We've seen Victoria take a couple of earlier shots in their offense to this point, but it's just a little bit more relaxed on that one, waited for the ball to get through hands. Spacing wasn't quite where it needed to be on the weak side of the floor, but they're in a position where they've at least got the ball back with 2 seconds. It's got to be quick, and Lily Carmody found a way on that one, but unfortunately couldn't hit the rim as it went up.
I think she is feeling that disappointment herself. She knew all she needed to do was at least hit the rim and keep it alive.
Exactly. She's probably not going to get too many easier shots in that one, in particular off a baseline and a bounce play.
60 seconds remain in the half. Nice cut by Alison Francis. And she's got 7 points to lead the ACT in scoring. She's going to go to the line for one. Can't complete that opportunity. So we're inside the final 60 seconds of the first half. 16 points separate the two sides. Both sides will be really looking forward to this main break. Fatigue setting in for different reasons. Slater releases Cunningham. Slater offloads to Francis. Francis is a bit of a live wire. She drives, takes on a couple of Victorians, dishes to the corner. Short on the shot. Now Victoria with a chance with 19 seconds remaining. Victoria looking to build on this 16-point advantage. Knight to the corner. Victoria putting it through hands. Carmody overcooks the shot. And that is how we're going to go to the half. 44-28. Victoria in command by 16 points, but ACT spirited display.
Yeah, they've been really good in trying to stay in this game. There's been a couple of times where it sort of looked like Victoria might kick away and it'll be really difficult to hold on to. But ACT have battled. They've done a really good job. And again, like fatigue setting in, you may mention that both teams will be pretty happy to see half-time. I don't think any truer words have been spoken.
Hope you're enjoying the Generation Next Under-20 Foot Locker National Championships. Coming to you live on Community TV from Geelong. We'll be back in just a few minutes. Welcome back to the arena in Geelong for the Generation Next Under 20 Footlocker National Championships 2023. It's Victoria 44 leading the ACT 28. Wes Cusworth and Rob Calder with you. And I believe, Rob, that we have been reliably informed that there are many people watching the community TV coverage that we're providing. And in particular, the Victorian Navy women's team are taking a very, very keen interest in all that's transpiring right at the moment.
Well, as they should. They played this AT team this morning and obviously will be fairly familiar with the Victorian team themselves. So not too sure what their schedule looks like for the rest of this tournament, but good time to be checking in and seeing what's going on.
There's an early foul. And that is going to cause Millie Sharp to have an opportunity from the stripe. Apparently they're baking, Rob. The girls are baking.
As in food or sun?
I believe food.
Okay.
We wish them well.
Good decision.
Millie Sharp has got 3 points. The advantage stretches to 17, early doors third term. In this quarterfinal clash, the ACT looking to make some inroads into this sizable deficit that they currently face.
Great defence. Great defence. Tiani out on the break and then Tennille.
The Wyndham girls combine and Knight finishes.
Excellent. And it all starts on the defensive end there. If you can get stops and you can run out of those stops, that you're always going to put yourself in a better position to be able to go score when you need to.
Tennille Knight, first player in the double figures in this contest. Another turnover. Here's Millie Sharp. Takes it to the hoop. Ananiev backing her up, but good work defensively by Matajevic. And now bringing it up the floor is Alison Francis. Francis. Now the ACT fire, and a long two comes from Matajevic.
This is where they have struggled a little bit, the ACT, is just stopping Victoria in transition. A little bit of a clunky finish there from Tennille Knight, but when Victoria get out and run, they almost look unguardable, and it really does come from the defensive end. If they can get stops defensively and continue to push the ball, it's going to be very hard for ACT to keep up with that.
Francis puts the ball to the floor, drives, goes up with the left, can't complete. That foul might have been called on Mia Slater there. Sounds like we're at the cricket in South Africa, doesn't it, with those horns?
Yeah, just haven't missed the vuvuzelas over the years, that's for sure.
They were banned in some sports, weren't they?
They were. Soccer got rid of them really early on. Not early enough to get them out of a World Cup, unfortunately. It's a good post up there from Griffiths, looking to go with that high-low with Tennille. Knight just misses on the first one, but great effort there from Holly Griffiths to stay in that rebounding contest.
With some of the local Geelong wildlife making their way onto the court.
Well, it's probably their best chance to get a drink has been some of the sweat patches as kids have jumped on the floor to save loose balls.
So Alison Francis ever so politely just asking maybe a grasshopper or something to make its way off the court. Now she's in the action. Takes it to the glass and they'll work it out wide. Shot comes from distance, bobbled around. There was more in than out and it still came out. That was Cunningham. Now Burrows. Ananiev inboard to Griffiths. Pushes it out to Knight, who in turn finds Sharp. Back to Knight, and Knight finishes.
Yeah, really good offense there from Victoria. A couple of inside-out looks, made the ball do the work to shift the defense, to be able to find there a really good shot close to the basket.
So, Emilife Onwu held up. Ananiev affects the turnover. Look at the speed from Ananiev, and she does ever so nicely to finish. Takes her personal tally to 9 points.
And this is the hardest part for ACT, is just they've given up some free points just off a couple of steals and turnovers and the ability to push the ball out in transition. It's just really hard to run with this Victorian team.
Really good work there by players from both sides, as neither player took a backward step.
It's fantastic. Credit to ACT. They haven't just rolled over in this thing. They've continued to push Victoria all the way. They've had their little runs here where they've started to peg it back. Just haven't been able to do it for long enough periods of time.
I speak of Millie Sharp from Victoria and Maylee Cunningham from the ACT. Just both attacking the contest. It's exactly what coaches want to see. Good work by Knight. And now the ACT's away. This is Michaela Wood. Goes from distance, hits the three. Sweet as.
A long way out on that one. It's a great shot to be able to take. If you've got that range, let that thing fly.
7 points for Michaela Wood. She might take a bit of encouragement from that to go again.
Definitely. And it's a great post up there by Holly Griffiths coming back the other way, and a fantastic post entry by Millie Sharp too, to just throw that away from where the defence is standing, so that she can just catch high, finish high, and just a great little baby hook there from Holly Griffiths.
This is Wood. Dishes to Brisky in the corner. Oh, now they've turned it over and opens the door for Millie Sharp, who just banks in two.
And Millie Sharp's had a great reputation defensively across the Australian Junior Championships over the years of just being a really hard-nosed defender. Very difficult to get around, reads the passing lanes incredibly well, and you can see the amount of pressure she puts on opposition teams by just being a really aggressive defender. Did have an injury that had to miss a good chunk of last year after her under-18 campaign, but she's certainly come back, and she hasn't put her foot wrong here.
Tennille Knight leads all scorers with 12 points. Lily Carmody has 9. And we have, with 6 points, Holly Griffiths for the ACT. 2 players on 7 points apiece. That's Michaela Wood and Alison Francis. 5:52 remaining in this third quarter. 55-33, so 22 points the spread. And the fatigue, one would guess, is really starting to take its toll on the ACT lineup.
Yeah, it's been a long day for these ladies. So I think their first game was 8 o'clock this morning. So that's usually a fairly early up, straight into your sort of scout, onto the bus, into here, early breakfast, play your game, go into overtime, try and get out of here as quickly as you can, do your rehab, your rest, recovery, do your next lot of review, then you scout again before you come back into this game. When you sort of put all that in context, it's not a day off in any way, shape or form. It's a really long day for the athletes, and you know, it can be tough for them to get through this, especially if they're not used to being in this sort of an environment.
Particularly as the heat was oppressive outside, just getting out of the bus into the stadium.
It wasn't super enjoyable going from the transport into the venue itself, and even when you were in on the main course, it was still bloody warm in there. So I think they'll be enjoying maybe some pool time or some beach time tomorrow. They might be doing a different sort of baking to the Vic Navy girls.
Michaela Wood attacks the glass. Can't complete, but she's going to go to the line. And it felt like someone had turned the heater on when you walk outside today here in Geelong, for those people watching from afar.
Thankfully, a bit of a cool change has come through, I'm led to believe. I look forward to enjoying that when we leave the stadium today.
Yep, Michaela Wood takes his personal tally to 8 points. Can't make the second.
Really playing a lot through the high post this quarter, the Victorian team. They're doing a great job of hitting one of their 2 posts and diving the other one in to try and take the best use of their size advantage they have in there. And we see just another foul called there because Victoria are able to target their posts in particular.
That's the thing about big people, big players. They just don't get any smaller as players around them fatigue.
They don't. They're always very helpful. If you've got a couple of them, I think every coach in the history of basketball has always lamented the fact they've maybe been a little bit too small. So when you've got them, use them.
Here's Wickstrom. Makes the first. Hannah makes the second, and she's made her singlet number. She's got 7 points. Emma Loff on Wu. Laura Short didn't quite hit the target there on that occasion. Picked off by Griffiths. And Burrows brings it up the floor. Now Griffiths. as the ACT introduce Matajevic to the game. This is Wickstrom. Condren was under a fair bit of pressure there. There are a number of ACT defenders ready to jump on her. Matajevic. Good work by Brisky.
Absolutely, that's a great post up. It's great recognition from the offense as well to realise that's a great post entry for them. The angle was really good, and the finish was great as well from ACT.
Condren. Burrows. Now just 6 seconds on the shot clock for the Vicks. Sarah Graham seems a little disappointed with something.
Yeah, not entirely sure what, but I think she's maybe told or been told by the ref there, maybe no more.
So 2 to come for Holly Griffiths, looking to add to her 6 points so far. Found plenty of iron, but wouldn't go for Holly on that occasion. She has to remain on 6 points.
Don't know who can get me to the stats, but I'd love to see the free throw shooting percentages over the tournament for this week. If anyone's got them out there, please let me know. I would love to see them because I don't feel like they're overly high.
Good work. Lily Carmody finishes. She's got 11 points.
Heck of a pass from Paige Burrows there too. The way to come up with a steal and just thread the needle to find a teammate in transition.
So the ACT looking to respond. Down by 23. Knight. Shot clock counts down. Down the front of the iron. Good work by Holly Griffiths. That was really courageous stuff by her. Didn't quite come off for Victoria, but wasn't through any want of trying by Holly. Open shot from Watt. Short on the shot. Now driving is Carmody. Wickstrom hits the 3.
Very complete player is Wickstrom. Very effective on the drive, but also feet set is an excellent catch and shoot 3-point shooter.
Third Victorian into double figures. She's got 10 points. The ACT look to respond. A little too heavy-handed on that occasion. Wickstrom once again. Another 2. She's got a dozen. A few good minutes from her.
Been fantastic. She's come in and really affected on the offensive and the defensive end of the game. Obviously, back-to-back buckets there, which is always a great start for her.
Emma Onwu went by herself, couldn't complete. Here's Carmody. She can. She's got 13 points and leads all scorers.
Time out here to ACT, just trying to again, just change the momentum of this game. It's sort of skipped out to 30 points without really sort of noticing it happen. But the Victorian defence has been really solid this quarter. They've done a really good job on that end of the floor, and that's really contributed to their offense. They've been able to get out and run a little bit. They've had some fairly clean and uncontested looks at the rim. So they'll be obviously looking to try and continue that, but it's on ACT now to try and find ways to stop that.
So 2:12 remain in the third quarter. 66 plays 36. Looking to the score sheet, Lily Carmody leads the way with 13. Hannah Wickstrom has 12 alongside Tennille Knight with 12. And for the ACT, it's Michaela Wood with 8 and Alison Francis with 7.
Very quietly can contribute to her points, Lily Carmody. It hasn't been in big bursts or anything like that, but she's just done the right thing at the right time, been in the right spots and just been really high percentage with what she's done.
Now, you make mention of free throw shooting, and we know that for those people that follow AFL football, the comment has often been made about the part of the game that hasn't really improved has been kicking for goal. Now, once again, does that mean it's not a skill thing as such, as more a mind above the shoulders type of thing?
Yeah, mentality when you go to the foul line does play a really big part, I find, with a lot of our junior athletes in particular, but it is one of those areas that if you've done the work, you should be fairly confident by the time you go to the foul line that this is going to be a pretty good result. It's like studying for a test. If you've done the study, you're fairly confident going in. If you haven't, that's when it become a little bit dicey.
Georgia Knight for the ACT, looking to really spark something for her team. Slater looking for options. Bounces back. She'll go alone. And the Vicks now through Millie Sharp.
Great help defence there by Diani and Aniev. Just found a way to be able to contest that shot along the way and just did enough to change it. Didn't have to block it, but just changed it.
Diani for a long two. That's a sweet shot. She hits double figures. 11 for Ananiev. Georgia Knight's carried a real workload tonight.
Done a fantastic job. She's been really contributing a lot on the defensive end, and her job hasn't been made easy given the offense of the Victorian players, but defensively she's held out in a really good spot, but also on the offensive end, she's carried the ball a lot against fairly high pressure up the floor and still made really good decisions.
Here's Ananiev. Condren backs away to the hoop. Good work by the ACT, battling on there. Desperate sort of stuff from Hannah Brisky. So inside the final minute of the third term, 68 plays 36. It's a 32-point advantage currently enjoyed by the Victorians.
A little bit of zone defence here from Victoria as well. Might be looking to conserve some legs and just try and take a little bit of air out of the ball, make it difficult for ACT to get a score.
From the corner. Not able to connect there on that occasion. That was Maylee Cunningham. Ananiev with Carmody to bring it up the floor. Carmody dishes to Wickstrom. Down the iron, but it wouldn't go. Now Sharp. So Sophie McWatt seemed to have been responsible for sending that one out over the sideline. Just 13.3 seconds remaining in the third term. This is Wickstrom. Got 12 points against her name. She drives aggressively, and that's a beautiful basket by Wickstrom.
It's a fantastic take. To be able to finish under pressure like that, that's a great finish, especially with the clock winding down. There might have been a clock error there, which wound down. They did score just before the shot clock went off, but I think there might be 2 or 3 seconds left on the game clock for this quarter.
Which is what I think the officials are discussing with the score bench and technical officials. 70 plays 36. Gives me an opportunity to tell you that Hannah Wickstrom leads all scorers with 14 points. Lily Carmody 13. Tennille Knight has 12, and Diani Ananiev has 11. Michaela Wood leads the scoring for the ACT with 8, and Alison Francis has 7. What are we going to be down to? 2.5 seconds? 2.3 seconds. So 34 points separate the two teams. The ACT put up a shot on the buzzer, and it's well short, and it is three-quarter time. And Victoria holding a commanding lead at the last break.
Yeah, you got to think at this stage, Victoria will probably have a fairly solid idea that they're going through to the semi-final round. So they'll be looking to do some things now to get some load out of the legs of some of the athletes. They'll probably rotate fairly well in this last quarter to just try and make sure everyone gets a little bit of rest. But they might also look to try a few new things before the games tomorrow. They might throw some new defences in, some new offences in, just to see if they can find some wrinkles for when they get to that semi-final tomorrow. Whereas ACT, they go into that 5 to 8 bracket. They've battled really admirably in this game. They haven't taken a backward step every time they've had the opportunity to try and get points or jump in the lane defensively. They've gone and done that. They've been really impressive in this space. So they'll be trying to, fairly similar. If they can peg it back and have a couple of really good minutes here, they'll try and peg it back. But if they can't, they'll probably look to try and manage the minutes as best they possibly can for the rest of this game.
Rob, I just want to pick up that conversation we were having about free throw shooting and kicking for goal and things like that. During my time as a court announcer, I have at different times kept records on free throw shooting and maybe what a player's shooting at percentage-wise in a game. And I was informed by my home team coach not to reference our own players shooting because apparently that was that got in their heads.
A little triggering.
But to keep doing it for the opposition.
Oh, right.
How does that sound?
That's very kind. It's it's one of those areas too where I think confidence does play a big part of it. Like if you walk to the line knowing, but I suppose what's more stressful, walking to the line knowing you were 0 of 10 or knowing that you're 10 of 10 and you're just one shot closer to that miss when it inevitably comes, like 0 of 10.
Are you a glass half full or glass half empty type of person?
Well, I'm usually the half empty, to be fair. So it's one of those things where I think it can be taught and it can be developed by our athletes. I think we just need to spend a little bit more time on it, and we just need to make them meaningful practices as well.
It is interesting, though, because it's been a perennial question in both, as I've referenced, both football and basketball, and it's been relevant to both, hasn't it, really? So
it really is. No coach wants to leave points out on the court, and they are free throws for a reason.
Well, we know so many basketball games are decided by such minor margins.
Absolutely we do. It's such a big thing that they need to be making the other team pay if they're going to send them to the foul line. We see Victoria come out in a little bit of the zone again. Might just be trying to conserve some legs where they can, but it's a fantastic find there by ACT to get in the middle of that zone and try and get their opening points for the quarter.
Ananiev releases her teammate in Carmody, who can't complete, and Victoria will reset. Sharp. Now Ananiev. Wickstrom wide open, fires and connects.
Has been very impressive from the perimeter in this game. She just feet set, just knows what to do with it, doesn't overthink it, just goes and sticks the shot.
17 points for Hannah Wickstrom. The ACT from the corner. Overcooking the shot was McWatt. Get another opportunity. Pushes out to the opposite corner. Short on the shot there was Cunningham. Here's Carmody. Wickstrom. Be mightily proud of her performance tonight. She gets another open shot. This one's a touch short. Well, that was just a little too easy for Lily Carmody on that occasion.
Yeah, I think the defence all thought that someone else was going to grab her and went to go and pick up the next player, and she didn't realise just quite how open she actually was.
She's got 15 points, Lily Carmody. ACT pop a shot that's short, and Matajevic's going to go to the line for 2.
Yeah, not a real disciplined foul there from Millie Sharp. It's okay to contest the shot, that's fine, but you've got to make sure you're not fouling jump shooters. That's a bit of a pet peeve of most coaches out there is don't foul jump shooters. You can foul someone going to the basket on a layup, that's understandable, that's going to happen, but don't be fouling jump shooters.
Cunningham exits the game, takes a well-deserved break. Ileana Matajevic. Two for 2. She's got 5 points. Here's Ananiev. Hannah Wickstrom got a big smile on her face. She's enjoying herself out there tonight, isn't she?
Well, as you would when you're leading all scorers at this point, and I think they're trying to get her another look if they possibly can.
Here's Diani from the corner. Short on the shot. Condren finishes, adding 2. She's got 4 points and she'll go to the line for 1.
Yeah, great positioning there from Condren to put herself in the rebounding contest there, and takes the contact and now the chance for the 3-point play.
Can't finish it off. 77 plays 38. 8 minutes remaining in the 4th term. ACT finding the iron but not dropping. Just a little bit vigorous there on that occasion from Matajevic, sending her Victorian rival over the line. Yeah,
it's good aggression on the ball. Like, you want to be up and in, you want to try and apply pressure, but just maybe a little bit overzealous on that one.
Naniev Wickstrom fires. Condren with the offensive rebound.
Once again, great positioning from Condren there to give herself a chance at that offensive board. It looks like Victoria going back into that zone again, which has caused a few problems for ACT. Just haven't had the same level of space that they used to be getting when they were in their man-to-man defence. And see Millie Sharp just chase that one down.
That's
but
sweet.
Overshoots it.
Michaela Wood, first ACT player into double figures. She's got 11 points. You can certainly see the Victorian height advantage coming into play. Oh, Wickstrom. Well picked off there by the ACT in defence.
No, did very well to stand that one up defensively. Read the back cut really well, and the whole defence stepped across and took it away.
And equally so on full stretch, Millie Sharp just interferes with the ACT forward 4A. Hannah Brisky back in for the ACT, so Mia Slater takes a break. Nice work by Wickstrom to take control, and she's fouled from behind. She's going to the line for 3.
That's what we spoke about before, the cardinal sin of fouling jump shooters, unfortunately. So it's all well and good to contest from there, but there's really no need to try and block the shot. Just try and be as much of a nuisance as you can there without fouling.
So Wickstrom, who already has 17 points. She's mastered the art of free throw shooting. Give a bit of credit to Hannah here, hadn't we? Given what we've been talking about with free throw shooting.
Well.
And then doesn't make the...
Yeah, a bit of credit. A bit of credit. That's okay.
66%.
Yeah.
19 points for Hannah Wickstrom. 6:30 remaining in the game. Good defensive work by Victoria once again. Here's Tennille Knight. Charges up the court. Offloads to Sharp, who shot her short. $6:15 remain. 10 seconds on the shot clock. Wickstrom. Oh, lovely work by Wickstrom.
Yeah, a great fake on the way through there. It's because she's been scoring so heavily, they do have to guard her a little bit tighter, and that does create a few problems for the defence. They end up jumping and biting on fakes and things like that, and just a fantastic read there by Wickstrom to get the defence up and in as she makes that kick-ahead pass through to Tennille Knight, who finishes off really well, especially in transition there.
Tennille's got 14 points. So what program is Hannah Wickstrom involved with?
She's a Sandringham Sabres athlete from down that way. I don't know if she's in their NBL 1 team or not. I haven't seen their finalised roster as yet, but I would hope she'd get a little bit of an opportunity this year, if nothing else, to be involved at that level.
Another good program.
It is.
Victoria, we're very, very blessed to have so many great programs around the state, aren't we?
We are, and this is the hard part for somewhere like ACT. There are literally associations that are the same size population-wise as how many people play within the ACT. So from a championships perspective, they bat well and truly above their average. They do a great job of presenting teams up at junior championships and national championships every year that compete with some of the best athletes around the country. So when you compare it with the weight of numbers of how many people play basketball in Victoria, Queensland, New South, South Australia and the like, ACT always do a phenomenal job.
I was involved with the Bendigo Spirit as court announcer for their first 4 years, and I reckon around that time the Canberra Caps were phenomenal.
Yep.
They were just an absolute powerhouse, winning pretty much everything.
Yeah, they are. And even the last number of years, like this year hasn't been quite as favourable for them. I mean, Kristen Veal's gone in there as a new coach, and to be fair, has done an excellent job. Whilst the win-loss column doesn't look as flattering for her, she's done a great job of just getting a young group of players, in particular a very injured group of players, unfortunately, throughout the course of the year, and has just coached them really well. And it's been a fantastic year of development for her as a coach, but also that Caps program starting again after Paul Goris moved on to the WNBA in the last 12 months. So it's always a really strong program. Every now and again they sort of go through their cycles like every team. They have their ups and downs, but I think they're in the right direction and really safe hands with Kristen Veal.
Yeah, some good things coming out of there. And we've seen some highly talented athletic players involved in this game. And, I mean, we've spoken extensively already this game about just the impact that the fatigue might be having on them, given the fact that they've already played. They've had a really long day today. They played early just to qualify for this game, and the Vics are certainly capitalising. 85-41 with 5:26 remaining in the fourth. Sharp and Carmody combine. Carmody finds Condren, who can't complete. Kicks it out to Wickstrom. Knight. Now Sharp.
Just couldn't quite find the open player there. I know Lula Carmody was very much open on the lane line there on the ball reversal, but just couldn't quite find the angle for her, and has resulted in a turnover. And it's good defence from ACT. Like, they scrambled into that. They managed to find a way to get out of that as well, and have ended up with a stop.
Nice work by Condren. Releases Carmody. Takes it all the way. Carmody's got 17 points. And just as the Victorian team will be pretty fatigued from the fact that they're running an 8-player rotation, obviously they need to finish well just to head into the next game on a high, don't they?
Yeah, you don't want to be sloppy at the back end of your game, because that's probably how you're going to start your next game in particular. So it is important for the Victorian athletes to make sure they close this out the right way. They are trying to conserve some legs, it appears, in this zone defence at the moment, but the hope is for them that they finish it off the right way, and they've done a pretty decent job in transition, so their hope will be that they can finish off a number of possessions and just kill off this game with as minimal fuss.
Well, they have to endure a further 4.5 minutes. Leading by 46. 87 plays 41. Nice work. Oh, Knight couldn't finish. ACT. Quick transition. Brisky was the intended target, but she was heavily guarded there on that occasion by a couple of Vics, and ultimately it's going to be a Victorian ball.
Yeah, it's great to see them still running and pushing in transition there, though. They've done a great job. I've been really impressed with this ACT group as a whole. They're trying their absolute most to make this as difficult as possible for Victoria, even though they know the result is done. But they're not exactly just backing off on this thing. They're still climbing in defensively. They're still talking off the ball. They're still making it as difficult as they can. They're still looking to push the ball in transition. That's a fantastic result for the whole group.
And there's that athlete pride anyway in performance, isn't there, where you don't come to a national championships if you're not an elite player at your age level and wanting to impress and having some pride in your performance.
Yeah, absolutely. And for a lot of these athletes, they'll be trying to make an impression to move into the NBL1 program in Canberra, or potentially move on to colleges down the road somewhere too. So it's really, it's not just about the scoreline in these situations. We know we come to these tournaments, only one team can win it. Like, it's not everyone gets a medal at the end of it. So you do have to be really mindful that you're putting your best foot forward, because you never really know who's watching these. Obviously, these are being broadcast far and wide. People can go and watch them, but you just never know if the right person's going to be watching at the right time to really help you out with your basketball and career.
The Vics fire from outside once again. And it would be remiss of me not to mention that last basket by the ACT of Emilife Onwu took her personal tally to 5 points. She's a spirited player who's showing plenty of energy out there tonight, sporting number 2, and she's actually got the ball as I speak. 87-43. 3 minutes remain in the contest. Up on the left, the ACT, and here's Knight. Bang, clash of bodies. Offensive foul call on Lily Carmody.
Once again, great defence from the ACT there. Got there early, got body, feet facing forward, took the contact down the chest, and drew the turnover from Victoria.
Lily wasn't too happy with the call, but I don't know there was a whole lot to argue with there.
I don't think anyone's really happy when they rack up the turnover, unfortunately, but not much to argue with there.
Wood. Back to Knight. Wood, they're playing a little bit of waxing right at the moment, Wood and Knight. I'll turn it over though. Here's Wickstrom. Can she add to her tally? Knight. The Victorian Knight. Wickstrom. Drives to the hoop, and she does add to her tally.
She's been brilliant tonight. She really has pushed that scoring load forward. Like, they're up to 89 points now, and she's been such a massive contributor towards that.
Game high, 23 points from Hannah Wickstrom. This is Georgia Knight for the ACT. Came under a fair bit of pressure there.
Yeah, maybe a little unlucky not to be on the foul line for that one. But ACT ball with 2 minutes remaining, but 6 seconds on the shot clock, so they do have to get something away fairly quickly.
Bang, firing from outside. Michaela Wood couldn't connect. Really sharp up the floor. Now Carmody. Wickstrom. Inboard to Knight. Kicks it out to the corner. Driving to the hoop. Lily Carmody adds 2. She's got 19 points.
Great take from Carmody. And you think about the scoring that's come off the bench from Victoria in this game. Both Carmody and Wickstrom have put up near on 20-point games each. That's a lot of points coming off your bench when you can get that in the game. So it really does show the depth of the Victorian team overall to be able to get that coming in that's not a starting unit.
Clash of bodies, but the Vics escape with the ball. Wickstrom looking to bring Tennille Knight into the contest. Vics turn it over. Here's Georgia Knight. Looks to Laura Short in the corner. Picked off by the Vics. It'll be an ACT ball with 63 seconds remaining in the contest. Contested ball arrow favours the Vics. So, final minute of our game. Running hard to the finish. Here's Wickstrom. Stops at the three-point line and connects.
3 more. Has been fantastic.
26 points. Leads all comers tonight. Picked off by the Vics. Millie Sharp, one-on-one. Good to see Georgia Knight's defensive effort there too. She wasn't not going to give up an easy basket.
Absolutely. It's been fantastic. I've been really impressed with this ACT group. They fought hard all the way through this.
Condren goes on the left. Can't complete. Tries to kick it out to Neil Knight. Approach to the basket. There's Georgia Knight. She finishes with 2 and she's going to go to the line for 1. She has spent a lot of time on the court, Georgia Knight.
She's been fantastic tonight, though. She's really led this group, and they've all followed her lead, to their credit. They've done a brilliant job of just making sure that the ball gets pushed in transition, and she's been a big part of that at both ends of the floor.
Can she add 1? She can't on this occasion. Condren. Wickstrom. Held up. Sharp. for Wickstrom. Inboard to Condren. Once again picked off by the ACT. Wickstrom got support from Carmody. Carmody attracts some attention, draws a foul. She will go to the line with just 6.4 seconds left on the clock.
I think ACT were very much hoping not to foul on that last one. They were trying to finish this game off as best they possibly could here. As Carmody makes the second.
21 points for Lily Carmody.
Great scoring punch from her. She's been fantastic during this game. It's been really impressive effort from her.
On the left, Michaela Wood can't complete. That is the end of the game. It's Victoria 96 defeating the ACT 45. And just very quickly to the score sheet, we can see that Hannah Wickstrom led all scorers with 26 points tonight. Lily Carmody had 21 and Tennille Knight had 14 for the ACT. They were led in scoring by Michaela Wood with 11 and 7 points to Alison Francis. So, Rob, your thoughts?
Yeah, really thorough performance by the Victorian team. That's probably what they were really after in this. Get in, get out, get the win. No further injuries, not having to run their players too hard on this one. And for ACT, really lucky to play well in that game. Like they had a good win this morning in the ACT Vic Navy team. And I've been really impressed with those ladies tonight. They did a great job.
Well, there we have it, the final game of our evening in the Under-20 Foot Locker National Championships. Generation Next here at the Arena in Geelong. Thanks to Foot Locker for their support of this community TV coverage. The entire competition proudly supported by Foot Locker. And, of course, we've got the Basketball Australia partners, including Sport Oz, Sporting and Game Day. Rob, thanks so much for joining me for these two games this evening. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Pleasure, Wes. Always good value.
Terrific work. 96-45, Victoria prevail over the ACT. Make sure you tune in to Community TV tomorrow for more action from Geelong in the Generation Next Under-20 Foot Locker National Championships for 2023.